Hello, welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. Symbol of summer. When someone asks you for a symbol of summer, plenty of things probably come to mind. Cicadas, watermelon, the beach, fireworks, shaved ice. Anyone can make a pretty decent list out of just the obvious standards. We've all experienced every one of these at some point. But for students in particular, one of the more memorable aspects of the summer experience arrives only at its very end.
よりにもよってなんでこんな日に神様がさあ夏休み最後の日を楽しみなさいって言ってるような天気のいい日にどうして私は勉強しないといけないのよ。それはあんたが全然宿題やってなかったからでしょうが。だってわからない宿題があったらいつもはサチがやってくれてたし。呆れた。あなた1学年下の小峰さんに宿題を手伝ってもらっていたの？だってサチがよろしければ私がって言ってくれるから。で思わずその行為に甘えてしまったと。
きっとチルチルはあれな、サッチンみたいなできる人と結婚したらダメ人間になってしまうのよさ。
ダメ人間って？
それはツンともせずデレもせずだらしなく伸びた金髪を揺らして歩く。見た目もそうジルジルって感じなのよ。
やめて私の未来をリアルに予測しないで。
グフフグフフフ。
Michiru's got it tough in her own right.
風見くん、ちょっといいかしら。
As I watch Michiru thrash about, her beloved twin tails swinging from side to side with all the kinetic energy of a traditional Chinese Hawaiian dance, Sakaki sidles up and requests my attention. What? You haven't finished your homework either, Sakaki?
ついてきて。
Not dignifying my attempt at humor with a response, Sakaki pivots on her heel and begins to walk. I follow obediently.
「ひとまずはここでいいわ。
After briskly making her way up the stairs to the third floor, Sakaki stops abruptly and turns back to face me. So, why bring me all the way up here? Planning to confess your love or something?
ずいぶん余裕があるみたいだけれど、勝算はあるの
？So that's what this is about?
ええ。あなたたちが受けた依頼は、休み明けにあるテストをなくすこと。だとしたら残り時間はもうほとんどない。明日になって授業が始まればさらに手を出しにくくなるはずでしょ。
Absolutely right on all counts, Sakaki.
ならこの状況で小峰さんはどうやってあの依頼を達成するというの
？You'll find out soon enough.
あなたはいつまでそうやって答えをごまかすつもりなの？
Such a cynic. I'm not being evasive this time.
それはどういう意味？
It means that Sachi is going to make her move today. On that note, I need your help with something, Sakaki.
手伝ってもらいたいこと？
Yeah, first of all, take these. I reach into my breast pocket, retrieve the tickets I prepared beforehand, and hold them out for Sakaki to accept.
これは
A complimentary helicopter ride ticket. 4 of them to be exact. See Mishima Cape's beautiful night scenery spread out below you and all that.
これはあなたの方をビンタしてもいい合図として受け取ればいいのかしら？
No, I'm perfectly serious.
じゃあこのチケットがあの依頼にどう関係しているのか説明してちょうだい。
We already talked about the possibility of danger, remember? These tickets have a great deal to do with that.
つまりこのチケットは私たちへの配慮だと？
Yeah, it's a win-win. You won't face any unfounded suspicion, and it'll be easier for us to act.
なるほど。あなたの言いたいことは分かったわ。
Glad to hear it.
でも、その説明で私が納得するとでも？
Pretty much, yeah. You did promise to help me out, and I trust you, Sakaki.
相変わらずずるい言い方だわ。
Mumbling in a sulky tone of voice, Sakaki quietly slides the tickets into her pocket. Thanks, I owe you one.
別に恩が売りたいわけではないけれど、このチケットで私は何をすればいいのかしら？
Nothing special. Go enjoy the view. Just make sure you get the others to come along.
たったそれだけなの？
Over the last few months, I've learned all too well that corralling the group is never an easy. That group isn't ever an easy task.
なるほど。確かにそうかもしれないわね。
Coordinating, controlling. What? I'm counting on you to take care of them.
ええ。すべてが終わったら、じっくり話を聞かせてもらうことにするわ。
Cutting off the conversation, Sakaki turns to leave the room. Before you go, I want to apologize. Sorry, Sakaki.
これはどういう風の吹き回し？すべてを話せないことに対するお詫びのつもりなのかしら？
You'll understand that soon enough as well. My wisecrack goes over like a lead balloon. In the end, Sakaki stalks off down the stairs in an even worse mood than before. Sorry for the hassle, Sakaki.
ただいま
ただいまなのよさ。
Just as I'm leaving my room, I hear Amane and Makina returning through the front door. That's a lot of bags. Shopping expedition, I assume?
そうなんだけど、ちょっとおかしなことがあったのよね。
How so?
いつもみたいにアマネーがお色気を振りまきながら商店街で買い物してたら、みんながアマネちゃんやマキボウも大変だねって言いながらいろいろおまけしてくれたのよさ。
でも私たちには何の心当たりもないから、得した反面ちょっと悪い気がしちゃってさ。
I see.
ユージは何か心当たりあったりする？
Nothing comes to mind. Maybe they just decided to show some appreciation for your constant patronage?
だといいんだけどね。
Not entirely convinced, Amane wanders slowly up the stairs to the second floor with their head tilted slightly in puzzlement.
ねえお兄ちゃん、今日サッチン見た？
Come to think of it, no, she hasn't been around.
お兄ちゃんが見てないって言うなら買い物にでも行ってるのかもしれないのよさ。
That's a possibility, yeah.
じゃあもしサッチンを見かけたら私が探してたって伝えてほしいのよ。
Got it, I'll pass that on.
あんがとう。じゃあ私はアマネーの手伝いをしてくるのよさ。
By snatching half-cooked food off the plate when her back's turned?
失礼な。それは少しだけなのよさ。
Pretty indignant considering she's not even denying it. Not bothering to offer a verbal retort, I watch Makina trot energetically up the stairs toward Amane's room. Assuming she's going to act today, Sachi might already have begun to make her preparations. Takaki successfully coaxed the others out. The dorm lies silent and deserted. Alone on the roof, I gaze blankly out at the sinking sun. I'm sure the others had questions about this sudden event, and why Sachi and I weren't coming along, but none of them got to me. Guess Takaki was thoughtful enough to take care of that. Not long till nightfall. I'm not particularly fond of the night. To be honest, you could say that I actively dislike it. Night is a deep and hostile blackness that swallows us whole. A darkness so absolute that it feels like a premonition of death. It makes us remember things we'd rather forget, images we've tried to erase from our memories. It shows us with gut-wrenching clarity just how weak and powerless we really are. Of course, I'm aware that the same doesn't apply for everyone, but ever since that day, this is what the night has been for me. Even at a time like this, let down my guard for a minute and I start shaking like an idiot. And tonight, there's more to it than old traumas. The vague anxiety I felt ever since I decided to bring Sachi to normality is weighing heavily on my shoulders. I felt the same way when I forced her to accept this request. It's something like guilt. I drove Sachi's back to the wall for my own selfish reasons. Got practically everyone I know mixed up in this as well. And after all that, even if I succeed, will it really make her any happier? You're gambling with someone's life here. You really alright with that? When I close my eyes, the other side of me whispers its doubts. Look at that, I'm trembling, still scared of the dark at my age. Almost like a curse, isn't it? The students gathered in this academy all have their quirks, and I'm no exception. Right now, I'm just a piece of defense equipment, kept alive by my country for its own purposes. I'm not gifted with perfect insight and judgment. I've never been a genius like my sister was. Far from it. Am I really qualified to be messing around with her life? When I voice my worries, I feel sweat gathering unpleasantly in the palms of my hands. Still, if I let myself flinch this late in the game, my master would probably come back to life just to kick me into next week. That's right. No point in hesitating now. I already made my decision. I'll do everything I can, and I'll believe in Sachi.
昼間のうちに一箇所だけ窓の鍵を開けておき、そこから校舎の中に侵入。中に入ったらそばに用意しておいたあれを校舎内に搬入する。
Mentally reviewing the plan I polished over these last few days, I followed the procedure with exacting care, one deliberate step at a time. From what the principal told us, the achievement test will be held the day after tomorrow. However, considering the opening ceremony tomorrow and the unpredictable obstacles it will present, today is my last real chance to carry out this task. But even after all my meticulous research and thorough brainstorming, I was unable to find a possible alternative to my previous method.
でも大丈夫。前回はうまくいったんだし、この方法自体に問題があるわけじゃない。ミスなく計画通りの手順を踏めば、きっと今回もうまくいく。だから大丈夫。大丈夫。
I repeat the words again and again, trying to convince myself they're true. Trying to distract myself from the hazy dark discomfort smoldering somewhere deep inside my chest.
これはきっと良くないもの。いい子でいるためには必要ないもの。だから余計なことは考えないようにしなきゃ。
Regaining my calm with an effort of will, I begin to spread a certain something along the darkened hallway. The instant the liquid in the thick plastic can touches the outside air, a unique smell fills my nose. I knew this stench well even as a child, when I used to help pour new fuel into the kerosene heaters that warmed our home, but I never did come to like it. As these distracted thoughts run through my head, I empty the can, then drop a rag to the floor and let the oil soak into it.
あとはこれに火をつける。
When I whisper those words to myself, I feel a voice whispering back, somewhere deep inside my mind. My hands come to a sudden stop. And as my thoughts turn to the nature of that voice, I violently shake my head back and forth, pushing it all away. I don't need to listen. Not now. I crouch to the ground, determined, resigned, vaguely feeling some small part of myself give up, and I reach out to the slick rag, a lighter clenched firmly in my hand. A small seed of flame I plant at the corner of the cotton cloth blossoms quickly. Spreading along the line of fuel, it transforms before my eyes into a full-scale fire. Scorching heat batters my skin. It's not an unfamiliar sensation. I'm seized with a strange feeling, almost like nostalgia. But none of that matters any longer. Since this time I deactivated the fire alarms and sprinkler system beforehand, all I need to do is repeat this procedure a few times throughout the building.
これでミチル様の依頼を達成することができる。そうすればユウくんから出された課題の答えもきっと見つかる。
For a moment, relief blooms in my chest, and in the next. With the sound of a dozen showers switched on at once, the sprinklers installed in the ceiling spring to life. Before I can even understand the situation, an almost disproportionate torrent of cold water rains down, soaking every inch of the hallway. the flames that were growing so vigorously only seconds before shrank with astonishing swiftness.
そんなちゃんと確かめたはずなのにどうして
Just last night, I entered the pump room and turned off every last one of the disaster prevention systems installed in this building, even testing that the sprinklers would no longer activate. But all of a sudden, they're completely functional. It's simply incomprehensible. The fire's gone out. That one thought filling my mind, I run over to the rag shelter of my body and desperately flick the switch of my lighter.
お願いついてお願い
But the cloth's already soaked thoroughly with water. It refuses to accept the flames. A waterlogged piece of cotton isn't going to catch fire. I understand that rationally, but I still push the switch frantically, half crazed with desperation and terror. So you chose this method after all? When I turn the corner into the thoroughly drenched hallway, I find Sachi crouched low on the floor, her eyes wide with shock. Interesting that she came in full school uniform, not the maid outfit she finds it easiest to work in. I guess she was trying to show respect for the place in her way.
まさかこれゆうくんが
Yeah, turned the sprinklers on this afternoon, if that's what you're wondering about. Well, it'd be a bit of a pain if the alarms went off, so I did leave those deactivated. Carefully shutting down the preventative systems beforehand to enable setting a large-scale fire, just the sort of plan I expect from you, Sachi.
でもどうしてそれをゆうくんがそれにどうして今ここに
It's actually pretty simple to predict the way a competent, careful person will approach something like this. If I was going to try and set fire to this building, I'd have done the exact same thing. Taking out the sprinklers was a necessity, and today was the only way to do it. Yeah, I expected you to use this method from the start. Use this method from the start. And I turned the sprinklers back on because there's something I want to tell you. Sachi's mind doesn't seem to have fully caught up with events. Her face is blank, her eyes filled with puzzlement. Most likely, she hasn't even begun to consider the possibility that someone would step in to interfere at this juncture. The situation you're dealing with here is completely different from the last one. The size and construction of this building is nothing like that little wooden schoolhouse. Plus, it's equipped with state-of-the-art firefighting systems. Disabling those beforehand was a good start, but sprinkling kerosene around like you did last time would require a lot more fuel to be really effective, and you'd need a lot more time to spread it. Considering that you absolutely have to do the job alone before anyone notices, your chances of success are virtually nil. It's entirely likely you cause some damage here and there, but that's not going to be a huge problem. The test would just be moved to an intact classroom. This place was designed for people like us, remember? You're not going to shut it down that easily. As I lay out the truth of the situation, Sachi stares up at me with disbelief and terror in her eyes.
じゃあ私は
Yeah, at this rate, you're going to fail.
そんな
The color instantly drains from Sachi's face. She slumps jerkily to the soaking wet floor like a puppet cut from its strings. Why so surprised? I'm pretty sure you knew this wouldn't work all along. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been searching that intently for another way. No need for all that research if your previous method was good enough. But no matter how you looked, no matter how hard you thought it over, no other solution presented itself. And unable to find a genuinely viable strategy, you had no choice but to turn to your previous method. Since there was no other way, even if the prospects looked dim, you could at least cling to the thought that it worked before. Am I wrong?
そんなことありません。前はこの方法でうまくいったんですから、絶対にうまくいきます。だから大丈夫なんです。だって他に方法がないなら必ず成功させるしかない。失敗することなんて考えてはいけないんです。だって私に失敗は許されない。私はいつもいい子でいなきゃいけない。どんな手段を使っても絶対にこの依頼を成功させなきゃダメなんです。
I've never seen this expression on her face before. Never heard her voice so thick with emotion. The sound echoes fiercely down the dark hallway. No one responds. Her anguish and desperation hang in the air for a moment, then fade into the indifferent silence, as if to symbolize her long, lonely, futile struggle. Tell me something, Sachi. Why are you so determined to do everything asked of you? Why are you so persistent with this good girl thing? Getting rid of a test is a completely unreasonable demand to make of a normal human being. The others said as much, didn't they? Even if you give up now, they'll probably just say, yeah, figured as much. Nobody's going to hold it against you.
それはルー君の推測に過ぎません。
What?
どんなに仲のいい相手でも相手の気持ちは相手にしか分かりません。それは血のつながった家族だって同じです。だから一度も失敗できない。何かを失いたくなければいい子でいないといけない。誰よりも勉強をして誰よりも言うことを聞いて誰からも好かれるような子でいなければいけないんです。そうじゃないとみんな亡くなってしまう。現に幼い頃の私が悪い子だったせいで私の大好きだった人はみんな私のあんなに私のことを可愛がってくれていた。お父さんとお母さんわがままばかり言う私に愛想を尽かしてあんなことになって、それにルくんだって大切なものを失うのは自分が死ぬことよりも怖い。あんなに辛い思いをするのはもう嫌なんです。もう何も失いたくない。だから私は絶対に失敗できない。今度失敗したらきっとまたみんないなくなってしまう。 こんな私に彼女になれって言ってくれたゆうくんもみちる様もまきちゃんもあまねさんもさかきさんもみんないなくなってしまうんです。
Sachi's feelings flow out of her in a torrent of words, her voice rising to a shout. Every sentence is filled with such bitterness that it's difficult even to listen. The pain of losing those who were precious to her, the sadness, the impotent anger, all jumbled together in an anguished wail. To me, it sounds like the voice of a child crying out for help. So then, if you become a good girl, if you succeed in this request, will you be yourself again? Will acting like a good girl should keep the things you love safe? What do you think, Sachi? Sachi's bared her heart to me. In return, I offer not kindness or comforting words, but a steady gaze.
それはもちろんです。
I see. In that case, I'll grant your wish. I'm going to help you become the person you want to be. I'll make sure you complete this task.
そんなどうして。
I made a promise, didn't I? I want to help you be yourself.
だとしてもゆうくんはさっきこの依頼を成功させるのは限りなく不可能に近いって。
Virtually impossible means there's a non-zero chance. And if you're not trying to do everything a lot, things change pretty dramatically. As long as you really are willing to do whatever it takes, there are plenty of ways to get this done.
それは本当でしょうか。
Of course.
じゃあゆうくんには今回の依頼を成功させるための作戦があるんですね。
Yeah, I have a slightly different way of doing things, but it should be fine. The preliminary arrangements are already in place.
いつの間にそんなことを。
I assume joint responsibility for our success on this job. And when 9029 participates in a mission, failure isn't an option. Of course, this isn't an Ichigaia job, and I'm not going on a cleaning expedition. Even so, I'm still my master's pupil. Asuko didn't just develop my technique and cram me full of technical knowledge, she taught me a whole way of thinking. No matter what the job entails, I'll face it with the resolve and focus I bring to the most dangerous missions.
9029。
Well, it's just a number that comes with a bit of reputation. No matter how ugly things look, 9029 pulls through. Sachi gazes up at me as though I've descended on a cloud from heaven. Having proposed the strategy, I naturally know full well how things are going to play out. And when I think about what's coming, it takes a real effort not to turn away from that gaze.
ゆうくん。
No, it's nothing. Shaking my head lightly to drive away that lingering touch of guilt, I settle my face into a serious expression. But since it's your perfect record at stake here, I think you should be the one to actually carry this plan out.
はい、私にできることがあれば何でもやらせてくださ
Right? In that case, there's something I want you to do for me.
い。やってもらいたいこと。 ここは学園長室ですよね。
Yeah, this was my base camp during the initial preparations. Although Chizuru might be irritated to hear me say it. I needed a room no one was likely to drop by and visit.
ということは、ずいぶん前から準備を。
That's right. The method I came up with involved a good amount of simple spade work.
なるほどです。
Anyway, everything's more or less ready to go, but we still need the finishing touch.
仕上げ。
I'd like you to help me with that. I retrieve a sizable duralumin case from behind the desk and swing it open.
これは何でしょう。粘土みたいにぐにゃぐにゃしていますけど。
Guess it's not surprising that Sachi wouldn't recognize this stuff, no matter how broad her studies may be. Well, she might have heard of it, but that probably wouldn't translate into recognizing it by sight. I'm hoping to wrap this up before midnight, so I'm not going to explain in detail at the moment. Just think of it as clay for now, like you said.
粘土で学力テストをなくすことができるんですか？
Yeah, once you set some of that up in a few places, the job's done. I'll show you what needs to be done. Think you can handle it, Sachi?
はい、粘土細工は得意な方だと自負しています。お任せください。
Your artistic talents aren't really relevant. Yeah. But whatever, that confidence should be more than enough to pull this off.
はい。
Alright, first of all, I'll explain how to install it. You see this deep hole here?
はい、それに点々と木箱のようなものが廊下に。
Well, getting all of these ready was one part of the spade work I mentioned.
なるほどです。
Anyway, when you see a hole like this, install one of these long, thin pieces of clay inside, like so. If there's a square drawn on the wall instead, set one of these square pieces of clay on top of it. That's all I need you to do for me. Any questions?
ありません。
Excellent. I've marked the points you need to cover on these plans, so go ahead and get started. I'll be taking care of something else in the meantime.
はい、わかりました。
Looks like that's about it.
はい。
Sachi can't fully mask the weariness in her voice or on her face. No doubt a result of all the pressure she's been under lately. Our final task completed, we meet up in the courtyard as arranged beforehand.
私は本当に図面通りに粘土を設置しただけなのですが、これでテストをなくすことができるのでしょうか？
Yeah, as long as we didn't make any mistakes, it will.
そうですか。
Apparently not fully buying my assurances, Sachi answered somewhat half-heartedly. Of course, she doesn't have the concrete details. To her, it really was nothing more than scattering some clay around the building. It'd be stranger if she wasn't a little dubious at this point. Okay, I can tell you want to see some results. Let's get moving.
はい、わかりました。ゆうくん、 私たちはどこへ向かっているのでしょう。
Sachi tagged along in silence for a good while, but eventually she's no longer able to contain her uncertainty. A place where we can overlook the school.
どうしてそんなところに？
You'll understand soon. Alright, I guess here will be fine. After about 20 minutes of walking, we reach a high place not far away. There's little cover of any sort. Below us, the reclaimed spit of land where our school stands lies clearly visible.
確かに学園が見渡せる景色の綺麗な場所ですけど、ゆうくんはここで何を？
Before I answer that question, there's something I want to confirm.
確認ですか？
Yeah. You sure you want to do this? Fulfill this request.
それはどういう意味でしょう？
You want to do what you're told without fail, to answer every demand anyone makes of you. And so you're absolutely determined to carry out even a completely unreasonable request, like getting rid of a test. That's the choice you're making here. You sure you're not going to regret it?
Okay.
Listen to me, Sachi. This is an important question. Think it over carefully and give me an honest answer. Sachi falls silent, a serious expression on her face. Looks like she's already started to deliberate. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know how she's reasoning her way through this question. But no matter how dependent she may be on others, no matter how passive and obedient her way of life, in the end her decisions are her own. If nothing else, I want to remind her of that.
Yu-kun, 私はこの依頼を成功させたいい子で居続けること。それが私が私でいられるってことなんです。
I see. Then I have no choice but to make her realize. Guess that's going to cause a bit of trouble for you guys, but those are the breaks. Your luck ran out the day I transferred into your class. Sorry, Sakaki, Amane, Michiru, Makina. Alright then, throw the switch and you'll get what you want. With those words, I retrieve a crudely made remote control from my jacket and hand it to Sachi.
私がこのスイッチを？
Yeah, doesn't look like much, does it? But I guarantee you, that thing will get rid of the test. Throw that switch, and you'll stay a good girl.
わかりました。
After staring down at the small box in her hands for a long moment, Sachi shifts her gaze to our school, firm conviction in her eyes.
確かにあんなに美味しい中華料理食べたのって初めてかもね。
てなわけでチルチル、私眠くなってきたからちょっと膝枕して。
ああ、なんで私がそんなことしなきゃいけないのよ。ちょっとだけだからね。
あんがとう、ジルジル。
ジルジル言うな。
じゃあジュルジュル。
それあだ名ですらないじゃない。もうただの擬音になってるし。でも中華街で高級中華食べ放題の後はヘリで夜景鑑賞なんて。榊さんの家がお金持ちなのは知ってるけど、 そんなに豪遊しちゃって大丈夫だったの？
中華以外は私のお金じゃないの。
なんて？
なんでもないの。
ねえねえユミコ、あれが東京タワー、あれが噂の東京タワーなの？
松島さん、あなたが初めての空からの夜景に興奮しているのはわかるけれど、もう少し静かにできないの？
失礼ね。私だって空からの夜景くらい見たことあるわよ。海外行ったことあるし。へえ、ミチルって海外行ったことあるんだ。まあね。でも遠い昔の話よ。でも榊さんも粋な計らいしてくれるわよね。夏休み最終日にこんな思い出作ってくれるなんて。
そう思ったのならお礼は風見くんに言っておくといいの？
ん？そこでなんでユージ？
私に今日のことを提案してくれたのは風見くんだからね。
なるほどなるほど。榊さんのデレぶりにはそういう裏があったわけですか。それよりさ、夜景が綺麗なのは東京の方ばっかりで、西間崎の方はあまり見るとこない感じじゃない？それはしょうがないでしょう。西間崎って割と田舎だし。
そうでもないのよ。さっきあそこがピカって光ったし。
え？どこどこ？あ、
A brief flash of light. Unlike an aerial bombing, there's no brilliant burst of flame to accompany the powerful sound of the blast. A pretty plain explosion, as these things go. The school building where I've spent the last 3 months of my life, and Sachi nearly a year of hers, crumbles noisily before our eyes.
あれは美浜学園ですよね。
Yeah, it was Mihama Academy at least. We just got rid of it along with that test.
じゃあ私がさっき設置した粘土のようなものはまさか。
Plastic explosives. Modern Japanese architecture is world famous for its strict building codes and sturdy engineering, you know. Demolishing even a modest-sized structure requires a lot of detailed calculations, and boring into the supporting columns is a pretty involved process. Just getting the necessary amount of explosives ready was a real challenge. Anyway, with the building itself gone, the school won't be up and running anytime soon. That test isn't going to happen. In fact, I expect that's going to be the last thing on anyone's mind for a while.
確かにその通りです。
Sachi responds vaguely to my explanation, her tone absent-minded. The words seem to have left her mouth out of reflex. Her attention is clearly glued to the building below, or what's left of it anyway. And this explosive technology is scary. There were plenty of other formalities and preparations involved as well. Considering all the time it took to set this up, it sure disappeared pretty quickly.
そうですね。
Something wrong. This is what you wanted, right?
はい。ゆうくんの言う通りです。これでテストがなくなるなら、みちる様の依頼を達成したことになる。そうなれば、私はいい子で居続けることができます。それが私の望んだもので、私はそのためだけに今まで頑張ってきた。なのに、それなのに、 んなにも胸がざわざわするのはなぜなんでしょう。
Apparently unable to grasp her own emotions, Sachi continues to stare down at the rubble that was once our school, her face blank with confusion. Can't understand where that's coming from, huh?
はい。
Well, I guess that's not surprising. You've never felt uncertainty about doing what you're told, have you? Never felt it necessary to even consider how obeying an order makes you feel.
じゃあ私は
Put a hand on your cheek. Sachi obediently brings a hand to her face, and her fingers brush against a small stream of tears.
でもどうして。
The girl wasn't even aware she was crying. Her confusion only deepening, Sachi looks up at me with a face full of pure bewilderment. You may not be conscious of it yet, but a part of you already knows the answer to that question. What was that place?
私が去年から通っている学園です。
And
ゆうくんがいて皆さんがいて、今日まで本当にたくさんのことがあった場所です。
specifically, what sort of things?
みんなでいろんな科目の授業を受けて、みんなで遊んで、屋上で流しそうめんをしたこともありました。
Anything else come to mind?
最近はいろいろな相談に乗っていただきました。ちょっとエッチな相談に乗ってもらったり、おしゃれの相談に乗ってもらったり、ゆうくんから出された課題について相談に乗ってもらったこともありました。
So you spent a lot of time there. What sort of memories are those?
とても楽しい時間だった。前の学校にいた頃は考えられなかったような会話と笑顔に満ちた空間。私が転入してきたこの美浜学園は、町の人たちから刑務所と比喩されるような場所とは正反対のところだった。外では厄介者扱いされるような私のことをこの学園は受け入れてくれました。みちる様は私のことを必要としてくれました。まきちゃんは私のことを一番の友達だと言ってくれ。あまねさんは私にたくさんのことを教えてくれま。榊さんは一歩引いたところからいつも私のことを気にかけてくれていました。
Sachi no longer needs my questions to guide her. As she begins to understand the meaning of her tears, her honest feelings come pouring out of her mouth.
私が大好きだったあの家のように暖かい場所、それが私にとっての美浜学園です。
That effect?
はい、あの学園は私にとってきっとそれだけ特別な場所だったんです。
Right. And you just destroyed that special place with your own hands. Since your 10th birthday, you've been clinging persistently to a single idea, telling yourself it's the one and only answer. Do what you're told. Be a good girl. Never disobey. And your stubborn adherence to that simplistic rule brought you to this moment.
そんな、私いい子でい続けたのに、あんなに頑張ったのに、いい
子で居続けることで大切なものを失うなら、私は今まで何のために。こんなの違う。絶対に違う。私が望んでいたのはこんなんじゃない。こんなんじゃないのに。
Remember what you said to me just a few minutes ago? You told me that being a good girl is what allows you to be yourself. That's it. And it's the only way to ensure your happiness. Sorry, but you were wrong. That's not how this works. Sure, an intelligent, pathologically helpful honor student will probably make plenty of friends anywhere they go. You're so useful to have around. Most people probably treated you nicely enough for their own convenience. And when they realized what you were carrying, when you were no longer of any use to them, I guess they abandoned you quickly enough. That sort always will. But how about the people in this school? You think they're the same way?
それは。
Do you really believe Michiru and Makina think of you as nothing but their personal lackey? Do you really believe they'd abandon a friend for failing to carry out a single order?
思いません。
That's right. You've been so afraid of losing something that you couldn't even see what you had. You've been going through life curled up in a shell, both eyes squeezed shut. In exchange for your brittle happiness, you've lost sight of what's around you. You've lost something you didn't even know you had. That's what I wanted you to realize.
大切なものを守ろうとして何かを失う。
Yeah. You know, human beings may be the smartest animals currently strutting around the earth, but that doesn't mean we're the wisest. No matter how much we learn or how advanced our civilization becomes, we're still complete idiots about the simplest things. When it comes right down to it, we don't realize how precious anything is until we lose it. I might be giving you a pretty pompous lecture right now, but I'm no exception to that rule myself.
じゃあゆうくんにも。
Yeah. There was a reason I couldn't promise to play with you on your birthday. My sister had died in an accident. And with her gone, my family crumbled in on itself like a house of cards. I'm the only one who got through it alive.
私ゆうくんにそんなことがあったなんて
Of course you didn't.
全然知りま
I
せん
never
で
told
した。
you.
じゃあもしかしてゆうくんはそのことを私に教えようとして。
Not entirely. I also wanted to learn something about you.
私のことを知る。
Yeah. There was a time when you could have asked me for anything, and all you requested was my praise. That's the one thing I've never really understood. But after hearing your feelings just now, I think I finally found my answer. I turned Sachi toward me and softly pressed my hand on her head. It's been a long and lonely road, hasn't it? You did good, Sachi. You really did. Speaking in the gentlest tone of voice I can manage, I affectionately ruffle Sachi's hair. Her eyes open wide as saucers, and in the next moment, fat tears are running down her face. Utterly lost, overwhelmed by pain, sadness, and confusion, waiting for someone to show her the way forward. Waiting for someone to see the crushing guilt she carried, to know the punishment she levied on herself every moment of every day, and to tell her, you've done enough.
そうなのかもしれません。私ずっと怖かったんです。テストでいい点を取ってお手伝いもして、そんな私をお父さんとお母さんは偉いねって。それなのに急にお父さんとお母さんが冷たくなって、大好きだったあの家に機械の音ばかりが響くようになって、最後にはあんなこと。それは私がわがままだったのがいけなかったんだ。もっといい子でいなければいけなかったんだって。だからもう一度も失敗できない、いい子でい続けなきゃって。
I see. Then I suppose I'm the only one who can tell you this now. You don't have to be a good girl anymore. I understand your feelings. I understand how hard you've tried. You've done more than enough. You can rest now.
それは本当でしょうか。
Yeah.
本当に私はもういい子でいなくてもいいんでしょうか。
Yeah, it's true. Her 10th birthday, a day that should have been full of happy memories, ended in an unimaginable tragedy. Ever since, Sachi's lived a half-life, bound tightly by the irrational guilt of a child, until this moment. The good girl she never truly was, the role she forced herself to play all this time, evaporates with her tears into the warm night. All this time, she suffered quietly, walking her constant fear and pain somewhere out of sight. Nobody can erase those years, or the mark they've left on her. And nobody can undo the accident that ruined her life. There's only one thing I can do for Sachi right now. Hold her shaking body in my arms until her tears run dry.
すみません。もう大丈夫です。
Right. When she's cried her fill, Sachi firmly wipes her cheeks dry and raises her head from its resting place against my chest.
お見苦しいところをお見せしてしまってすみませんでした。
Nothing to worry about. A girl's tear-stained face is a special privilege reserved for her boyfriend.
じゃあ
Stained.
私の涙はゆうくんのご褒美に。
I did just blow up a school for you, remember? I don't think it's too much to ask.
そういえば私たち美浜学園を壊してしまったんですよ。あまりにもびっくりしすぎて、なんだかあまり実感がありませんけど。
Yeah, we did. Probably going to cause the Kaki and Company a lot of trouble, not to mention everyone who works there.
あ、そういえば皆さんは寮は大丈夫なのでしょうか。
As she finally realizes the potential for collateral damage involved with this little show, the color drains from Sachi's face. Don't worry about them, they're in a safe place.
それならよかったです。
An expression of pure relief spreading across her face, Sachi brings a hand to her chest as if to slow the frantic beating of her heart. It's a simple, earnest gesture, one that speaks volumes about her feelings toward our classmates.
ですが皆さんに迷惑をかけたことに変わりがないとすると、ここは二人で腹を切ってお詫びするべきでしょうか。
That would kind of make this whole thing pointless, don't you think?
そういえばそうですね。
It feels like it's been an awfully long time since I've had one of these distinctive, pure Sachi moments. That brings me a slight sense of relief. Somehow, it makes me feel like all this wasn't a waste of effort on my part. Well, we can't exactly go put the school back together again, but... like I told you before, I spent some time on the planning phase here, and a big part of that was figuring out how to keep the damage in plus to a minimum.
そういえばあんなに大きな爆発があったのに、あまり大きな騒ぎになっていないみたいです。
Yeah, I guess we've got to thank Chizuru and JB for that one.
ということは、ハルデラさんや学園長さんはこうなることを知っていたんですか？
When we entered the principal's office, didn't you notice that most of the books and documents were missing?
はい、全然気づきませんでした。
Well, I guess you had other things to worry about at the time, but in any case, yeah, I got myself in some pretty serious debt to make this happen.
それはどれくらいの借りなんでしょう？
Let's see, even if I worked the rest of my life for free, I doubt I'd be able to pay this one back. Handle this sort of thing wrong, and there's a possibility I end up getting disposed of through an accidental death.
そんな、自分がそんなことになるかもしれないのに、ゆうくんはあれだけのことを？
From what I'd seen, this was the only way I'd get through to you. You needed to fail through success. If all I wanted was to get rid of that test, I could have just asked Chizuru.
私にはその選択肢すら浮かびませんでした。
Exactly the reason I had to blow up the school instead. Sachi draws a sharp little breath and looks away, a tinge of sadness and guilt in her eyes. You know, Sachi,
はい。
a little while ago, I said you were wrong to think being a good girl would protect your happiness. But to be honest, I can't say your way of thinking was entirely mistaken. As a kid, you struggled desperately to find that answer. It got you back on your feet. You fought hard all this time, living by that belief. And eventually, you found people who understand you and care about you. You found what you were looking for. That's not a way of life you need to be ashamed of. But there's one important thing to keep in mind. You can't allow yourself to lose sight of what you're trying to protect.
私が守ろうと思った。
Yeah. No one's asking you to change who you are. You're probably going to keep on being a pretty good kid. And that means people are going to keep asking you for favors. And that's fine. All you need to do is think over every request individually. Think about what they're asking you, and why. Think about whether it's reasonable. Think about the consequences of saying yes, and then accept or decline. I know you're capable of making those decisions for yourself, Sachi. But if your confidence ever wavers, come to me and we'll talk it over together. I'll rack my brains with you until you make up your mind one way or the other.
ゆうくん
There's not much else I can do, but I'll always be there to listen.
今の言葉を聞いて私やっとわかりました。
Understand?
ゆうくんが私に出したもう一つの課題、私が海でゆうくんの袖を引っ張ったのはどうしてなのか、その答えです。
Come to think of it, I did ask something like that.
はい。でも私にはその答えがわからなくて、結局皆さんに相談に乗っていただくことになりました。
I see. So I guess that would explain the regular meeting Sakaki mentioned the other day.
そして皆さんが言うには、その課題の答えはとても簡単で、私がゆうくんのことを好きになったからだそうなんです。 その答えは当たっていたでしょうか。
Why ask me? Probably faster to ask your heart or hormones if you're feeling pragmatic.
確かにそうかもしれません。私は皆さんが考えたように、もうずっと前からたった一つの気持ちに動かされていたんです。
What makes you think that?
ついさっきまでは全然そんなことなかった。でも今はこうして隣にいるだけでドキドキしてしまいますから。
Blushing an unusually vivid shade of red, Sachi smiles up at me. Among all the expressions I've seen on her face these past few months, I think this might just be the single most natural and the happiest. I see.
だから改めて言わせてください。
Pausing briefly, Sachi closes her eyes and takes a deep breath.
私、小峰幸はゆうくんですから、もしよければゆうくんのあなたの彼女でいさせてください。
Good. She got cut off. She speaks her feelings plainly and directly, the smile never leaving her face. It's almost like I'm looking at a memory of the Sachi I knew as a child. There's a slightly enjoyable tickle of embarrassment in my chest. Well, seems I managed to win the girl over somehow, but this one gets as good as she gets. I came up with a lot of pretty decent justifications for trying to help her. Repaying the kindness she showed me as a child, discovering the meaning of my master's words, etc., etc. But to be honest, it's a lot less complicated than that. I've been slowly but surely falling in love with Sachi for a while now. You want the girl you love to be smiling. When something's making her suffer, you want to get rid of it. That's really all there was to it.
ゆうくん、黙っていられると私とても不安になってしまうのですが。
But your anxious face isn't half bad either.
やっぱりゆうくんは意地悪です。
Don't get sulky. You're going to have to put up with this sort of thing on a regular basis from now on.
それって。
Of course, if my pomposity has finally set off some warning bells, you can withdraw your candidacy before it's too late.
いえ、こ ちらこそよろしくお願いします。
Breaking into an ear-to-ear grin, she throws herself forward against my chest. Something about the pleasant warmth of her body brings the vague feelings I've been carrying all this time into sharp focus.
私はバカですね。ゆうくんが私を彼女にすると言ってくれたこと、私の代わりにみんなのお願いを聞いてくれたこと、そして今まで私に送ってくれたたくさんの言葉たち、その意味がやっと分かった気がします。
I don't see the problem. This isn't a race. How long it took you to see what you were missing isn't important. What really matters is how clear you understand where you went wrong, and how well you make use of that knowledge from now on.
なんだか素敵な言葉です。
Can't take the credit. I'm quoting someone who helped me find my own way of life a while ago now.
つまりゆうくんにとってのゆうくんということですね。
Yeah, I think that's supposed to mean.
ゆうくんは今も昔も私に道を示してくれましたから。
Nice to hear. I'll have to take Sachi's word for it, though. I really don't remember doing that much for her. But even if I'm not half the person my master was, I left a mark on Sachi's heart back then. And maybe, in helping her now, I managed to pay off some small part of the debt of gratitude I owe Asako.
それにゆうくんはいい子でいることも悪くないって言ってくれましたけど、私はもう今までのようないい子でいられないかもしれません。
Sorry, what does that mean?
ゆうくんが言っていた私が私でいられるということ、それはきっと昔のようにわがままだった自分といい子でいようとする今の自分、その2つを含めた私が本当の私だってことなんですよね。
I see. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
はい。だから今の私はとてもわがままが言いたい気分です。
Selfish?
私に大切なことを教えてくれたゆうくんへの感謝の気持ち、そしてそんなゆうくんのことが大好きだという気持ちを伝えたいんです。
The words are barely out of Sachi's mouth before she brings her face to mine. Just like that, she softly kisses me. For the first time, I feel the warmth of her lips against mine. A long, gentle kiss, as if to affirm our mutual feelings. As I savor that simplest pleasure, I wrap my arms firmly around Sachi, pulling the weight of her body against me. For a long moment, Sachi closes her eyes and focuses entirely on the movement of her lips. When she finally pulls back to draw breath, her mouth moves mine with palpable reluctance.
大好きです、ゆうくん。今も昔も、そしてこれからも。
Yeah, same to you, kid.
気持ちを伝えた相手が自分と同じ気持ちでいてくれるのはとても嬉しいです。
That effect?
今ならゆうくんがどうしてキスをしようとしなかったのか、最後までエッチをしてくれなかったのか、その理由もわかる気がしますから。
Oh, let's hear it then.
私が今感じているこの気持ちが大事だったんですね。
Nice work as always.
ありがとうございます。
With an amused smile and words of thanks, Sachi offers me a polite little bow. I've heard the same many times before, but now that I fully understand just how much I care about the girl, the sincere gratitude in her voice inspires a wave of happiness that takes me by surprise in its intensity.
だからこの気持ちをこれからも言葉にさせてください。今まで伝えられなかった分も全部。
You sure to ask a lot, don't you?
覚悟してくださいね。私は初恋もゆうくんなんですから。
Yeah, I'll strengthen my resolve. So Sachi can't smile like this after all. I love you, Sachi. For the first time, I tell her exactly how I feel, and immediately thereafter, I bring my lips to hers. Being loved by someone, and loving them in return. A basic human experience. Normal, healthy emotions, uncomplicated happiness. The sort of thing I thought I'd lost forever a long time ago. But it seems the life I've led wasn't enough to permanently erase that part of me. I finally found it again. Savoring the pleasure of our simultaneous physical and emotional connection, we lie there for some time, enjoying the warmth of each other's bodies. Is that it? Oh, jeez, that was like 10 minutes too long.